And we are going to get this party started. So,
Yay.
welcome everyone to the CEO Spot. I'm Amy Walker, and I'm so excited that you're here with us today. This is your place to be on Thursday afternoons to be able to get some real, solid, quality insights in how to run your business better and enjoy the experience more. And today I get to speak with Rene Johnson. She is the Power Zone Coach, and she's the author of Leaving Your Comfort Zone, and she's the CEO of her own business. She helps leaders to be able to find their personal power zone and really find the magic in leading from their divine genius. And I love this because I have actually blogged about this topic several times, like leading your way and doing business your way, and trying to really embrace who you are as the individual leader instead of feeling like we're running business doing all these have-tos. I found that so many of us try to make ourselves better leaders by becoming good at the things that we will never be good at. And they're not us. It doesn't work for us. It's not a good flow. We don't have fun doing business that way. And so I'm really excited to have you on and get to hear a little bit more about you. Rene is also, she has 2 daughters, and she's a grandmother to 5. I don't want to rob you of a grandkid. 5 adorable grandkids. And so she does both, balancing those roles of being the CEO and the entrepreneur and big dreams and big goals and having great relationships, which we love. So welcome to the show today.
Hey, thank you, Amy. So excited to be here. I've been anticipating this now for a few weeks, so thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Leadership is one of my favorite topics to cover. It's what I wrote my first book about as well. And so you have a little bit of a unique take on leadership that we're going to dive into here. But before we do, I would love to hear a little bit about your CEO journey, because we don't land in this spot of being CEO of our company. There's kind of a gradual build to get there. So give us a little bit of your backstory.
Yeah, for sure. So I started out many years ago in the dental industry. That was my initial career. I was one of those people that were always driven. So I went through my last 2 years of high school. I actually went to dental school and graduated with my AS when I got my high school diploma, and went right off and getting in the field so much that I was driven that I was invited back to actually teach advanced radiology. So long story short is I was really involved in the dental industry for over 15 years. And during that time, I was hands-on. I'm still involved in education. During that time, I was working in the dental practices, building my skills. And I was watching these doctors who went to school, paid all this money, and watching their dreams walk out the door, whether it be failed relationships with the patients or the employees, taking their strengths because they're the ones that brought them. They weren't in the systems in the company. Their frustration with not knowing how to lead. They get their degree to be a great dentist, but they don't learn business management. And I was feeling bad for them, right? And so I started working on developing some processes in that arena, and actually ventured out on my own, became a dental consultant, to where I was working with large dental practices, and I was recognized by several in the industry and became a consultant for the American Dental Association, and helped launch their online continuing education courses internationally. Still have several out there on different platforms in leadership, business development, team development. And that growth from watching them struggle and having my heart go there, and figuring out ways to actually master how to have the business of your dreams, but also learn how to develop leadership skills at the same time, because you won't be very successful very long or with much joy. And then turning that into a business. From there, I realized, what? These are key core principles that I wrote my book on, the 6 Power Zone principles, that all businesses and professionals who are in leadership need, And so I ventured out into other businesses, to where I now coach people like yourself internationally, various sizes of companies and individuals. And so that's how I got started. And when I Emergy Coaching was my initial that I did with my dental consulting. And then when my book launched in 2009, I decided to rebrand it. And really what it was is I decided to claim my leadership voice. So Power Zone the power zone, it's all about, how to lead from your power zone is not a gimmick. It is who I am and what I found and what I want to teach others. And so that's why I renamed it Power Zone Coaching and became CEO of that company.
I love that. Well, and it really is not just dentists who have this problem. There are so many business owners that they spend a lot of time and energy getting better at and focusing on that core skill that their business is built around, which, I want a dentist who knows how to take care of my teeth. I don't want a bad dentist. But at the same time, that does not guarantee your success. And I find so many people in business really frustrated that they're very good at what they do and they can't seem to grow their business. And that's a different skill set. So I love that you realize that and have been helping business owners with that for a long, long time. Let's jump into what this power zone is. What is power zone leadership?
Okay, great. I love talking about it. So the power zone, if you think about it, it's an intersection. And it is where your most significant why, your purpose, your strengths and talents, your best strengths and talents, not the things that you're good at, but the things you're great at, and your core values, your driving core values intersect. And we all experience this at some time in our life. And if we get opportunities, then hopefully a lot of times of our life. And it's in our life, and then it's also in our business. And here's why: because I firmly believe you have to become a leader in your life in order to be a good leader in your business. And the power zone is internal within inside of us. And so if I asked you, and this is bugging me to get rid of this calendar link, see if it will go away here. Whoops. Oops. Sorry, Amy. So I'm screwing up here. Hold on, I'm coming back. Okay, I was trying to get rid of it so people don't have to look at my calendar that popped up in technology. So if you think about it this way, all right, if I asked you, Amy, if there's a time in your life that you really felt in your zone, things are clicking for you, courage is fired up, what does that feel like for you?
For me, I can always tell when I'm in the zone because it's like I can take from conceptualization into implementation. It flows, it's quick, it's natural. I don't feel like I'm fighting an uphill battle. It's energizing instead of tiring. And it just like I feel like I have not been in that zone. To full transparency, I don't feel like I've been in that zone at all this year. This year has been this year where it's like everything feels clunky. And then we moved, and like literally the day after we moved into our new house, all of a sudden it opened up again. And it was like, I've gotten more done in the past 2 weeks than I had gotten done in months before, because the inspiration is just flowing and the ideas and it's so much more fun. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you.
Yes. Okay. So it's a real place. It's not this woo-woo. It's a real place that we all have. And when we learn how to actually master being in our power zone, that's a perfect example of what my clients explain happens. And there's so much more we can achieve and so much good we can actually give into the lives of others and our businesses when we learn how to actually tap into and identify what our personal power zone looks like. Okay, so that's what it is. So it's your greater purpose, and not everybody takes the time to find what that is, but it's there, right? That significant why. It's those greater strengths and talents. So you got to be willing to let go of those things that, especially in leadership, that you know how to do, but you got to be able to let go so that you can do the greater strengths and talents that your team deserves. And then, figuring out what those core values are. And we'll talk about that and how to actually identify a little bit of that.
Well, and what's interesting is as you're telling me this, I spent the first half of the year like, why are things not clicking? And time freedom is one of my core values. And that is one thing that opened up with our move, because we lived 30 minutes away from everything and we have 5 kids. And so I was spending 4-5 hours a day driving kids back and forth and had no time freedom. So it was like, as you're saying this, I can totally see how if you're off in one of those areas, it's going to block you from being in the zone. And sometimes I heard this from Leslie Householder. For those of you who don't know her, she's great too. But she said that success is sometimes it's like a combination lock. And if you just have one number off, you can have all the other ones. and
Yes.
that one number off will
I
block the flow.
absolutely. I call it that you end up having power leaks. Absolutely. And one of the greatest power leaks, which you mentioned about time, and time is one of those resources that you can't get back. It's a non-renewable
Right.
resource, right? And so understanding what your personal power leaks are that keep you, which we'll talk about a little bit, keep you from your power zone is so important to understand. So, because that one little number, you're right, it makes a difference in how easy it flows for you, how more relaxed you are, how much more comfortable, how willing you are to champion that comfort zone. That if you're really doing leadership right, you get to experience that often, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The other thing that you brought up that is so genius as well is the fact that you have to let go of a lot in
Hmm.
order to
Hmm.
be in this genius zone for your leadership. I just did an interview with a gentleman who took a business from 11 million a year to 30 million a year in 4 years. And the number one thing he said he did is he said, I decided that I could be in charge or I could lead, but I couldn't do both. So I had to let go of being the
Hmm.
one who did all the things and
Yeah.
just step into that role of being the one who was the visionary and the leader and the idea person and keeping all
Yes.
that. So
That can
love
be
it.
really a scary place for leaders for different reasons. And I like that example. I've taken like one core example is taking a company from 4 million to 400 million in a few year period of time, and because they're learning that process, so it definitely improves your leverages your revenue and your profits. What I find is if you're looking at your power zone, those three key things, right? And
Mhm.
to be able to activate it, if you want to go there, and how to know you've activated, is there are three key things, and I'll give some tips today on that. And so that leader in particular, probably what he did is number one is you have to understand what your personal values are as a leader. What I find is many will say they know what they are, but when you actually drill it down, they might have one or two, but I find that there's typically about five core values that will make this most effective. And they're yours individually. I don't choose what they are, but understanding what they are and having them in writing, because you can't be accountable to something that's not in writing. You can't let things go and filter through those values if they're not in writing and truly defined. You can't bring them into your culture if they're not actually communicate to other people, right? In a way that you can measure
Right.
them and grow from it. And so understanding what those values are, because that's what makes up your voice. Your voice is
Mhm.
what's going to inspire the change. That's what's going to help you lock and load and truly be able to speak from that core place of your values. Now, understand values are not your morals. People get confused with that. it's
Right.
it's shown in different studies that values are actually your core driving motivating energy. And when we meet people and we say we've known them for a while, it's because we have some similar values. When we go into situations and it
Mhm.
works for us, is because we're locking into those values, right? And so that's one of the key things to be a power zone leader, identifying what they are, but also then learning how to actually use those in a way that you filter through and you actually implement. And then from there, the second thing to be able to activate your power zone is that understanding what inspires your change. So naturally, when you start to step up and honor those values, you're either going to get a little squirrely, like, oh crap, here I really go, right? I'm going to put my stake in the ground. And that's okay, because
Right.
that means you're facing your comfort zone. And when you
Mhm.
become power zone leader, then you've got to start by inspiring change in yourself first. Really challenging yourself. How well am I walking my talk? I say integrity is important, but where am I honoring it or not? I say, self-expression, but am I allowing my employees to do that, even if their opinion's different than mine? Follow me with that. So
Yeah.
really challenging your own power, your own comfort zone, so you can step forward to the next level of your power zone. And then
I
also,
want to point out
yeah,
something that you
okay,
just brought up because
okay,
I think a lot of us do this, that we have these core values and we are good at honoring them outside of ourselves and terrible at honoring them inside of ourselves. Like, let's take integrity, right?
okay,
I am never going to steal from you. I am never going to rob you. I am never going to be dishonest with you. However, I might lie to myself every day by saying, I'm going to get up and exercise. And then I might steal from my own time because I might give all my time to everybody else, but not give it to me. Have you noticed that trend that we're better at honoring those core values outside of ourselves
yeah.
and we struggle inside of ourselves? Why is that? Why do we do that?
Well, what I've experienced is it's easier to lie to yourself than others. Okay. So um, people are looking at us and they're judging us, they're taking us at our word. And so sometimes we put that mask on, what I call your mask of confidence, right? And present something. But that gets so tiring. And you feel it and you leave the day feeling like you haven't truly honored yourself. And that depletes your joy. Gosh, that's an awful place to be. And that's another reason, that's one of the there'll be two reasons that people come to me. They're either in that space where they're not honoring their significant why, those values, and their power zone, and they're feeling that draining, like all I'm doing is pushing papers and I'm not happy and I'm not able to be, who I wanted to be. And this is not what I signed up for. Okay. Or they're wanting to drive
Right.
for those bigger visions and want to learn how to lock into it. So the, as human beings, it's not always easy to be accountable for ourselves. It's that place where we can go and we can justify, we can make excuses, we can tolerate.
Mhm.
But then you get those results, right? You end up having power leaks. You end up wasting time, your life. You end up wasting resources, maybe saying yes to things that you didn't want to say yes to, or wasn't the right fit, right? Because you're trying to appease somebody else and you're not using your best strengths and talents or your team's best strengths and talents. So getting really authentic, even though we talk about it, you see lots of posts out there, but that inspiring change requires that. And it takes courage to do that, right? But when you do it, on the other side of it is truly being able to step up, walk your talk. And stay, as well as I do, Amy, is that when you do that, there's a there's a let go of a certain energy, and there's
Yeah.
a experience of a different energy, so that holding on, fighting, resisting, push, pull, all of that energy goes away. Instead you
Mhm.
get to lead, guide, inspire. And that is the place to be if you truly want to make a bigger impact and different in this world, as well as in your business and your life.
Awesome. I do want to talk about these energy leaks because
Power
I think
leaks.
a lot of
Hmm.
yeah, the power leaks. A lot of people, I think they get to the moment, all things intersect, and they can't seem to figure out why they can't stay there for longer periods of time. And we are human, and I don't expect that we stay in that zone 100% of the
No.
time. We get sick, we get
Uh-huh.
distracted, external forces kind of shove us out a little bit. But how do we learn how to stay in that zone longer? I'm guessing it has to do with those power leaks.
Yeah. Well, that to add to that is, first of all, realize that coming up against them can be great learning opportunities. I know for
Mm-hmm.
myself that I have had to. There's different experiences in my life, great experience, life and death, and different challenges. And if I look at them, not always inside of the situation, right, where everything's leaking out, but hindsight
Right.
teaches you that if you allow yourself to grow inside of those, find that deeper power, you come out even greater and have more gifts to show, right? So in
Mm-hmm.
doing that, I created 6 core power zone principles. And the core things that talking about them all, is a big chunk to deal with today. But the first ones is, if you're getting up every day and you don't have your values predetermined, right there, you're going to be subject to everybody else's wants and needs. Okay, right there's one power leak number one, right, with time. So taking some time, even if you start with one core value and you really define and you practice exercising that for this week or next week. So don't do the all or nothing approach. It never works. You give up too early, so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you make sure that you're figuring out what your vision is. You have to have a very clear vision of what you want to achieve in your life and your business. Again, if you don't, then how do you shape decisions? Okay. How do you actually inspire change in yourself or others? How do you have a vantage point? It shapes these decisions. It helps you actually create a vantage point of where you're going, so you can manage your time, and you can also decide which relationships are a good fit for you, and so forth. So having that vision, um, being willing to take risks. A lot of individuals will not look at taking risk as their ally. They'll rather avoid. And if you're going to be in
Right.
business, right, you've got to be willing to look at them as opportunities and challenge yourself to grow. Having core goals. I mean, I'm just going to throw the 6 key principles really quick out there. Having really strategic goals and using them as a map of how you're going to spend your time and your energy. You follow the theme going on here, these different decision points that's going to help you guide. So you're living by intention versus default. You're identifying what are your common blockers. If what are the fears, what are the beliefs, here's a big blocker that people don't understand, really affects your power leaks and having more of your energy, your power going out, being dissipated, being drained, is your self-care. Huge self-care. And one area that I know that leaders don't do as well, because I evaluate them, is celebrating success. Man, not just for themselves, but with their team members. And what a sucky way to drain that power in that team, to go, oh, well, next. But you know what? The cool thing is, if you do that, man, can you imagine the power you get back? Because that actually tells you what you're capable of. That sets a higher expectation. That raises the personal accountability, and it's free. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your time. We could talk all day about that one area, and really understanding your ability to create that change. Getting in the driver's seat of your life is huge. Her hands on the steering wheel, taking control, not just being in the passenger seat and letting everything come at you, but being deliberate. And if I was to say a really, I said about finding your voice and value and inspiring change, and then started in to lead the change, right? That's you as a leader, and that's you in your business with your systems and processes. How to know without a doubt that you're there. We can talk about all these different ways, and that you've truly blocked those holes, your power leaks, is you're more deliberate. You're more deliberate. If you're not feeling deliberate, you've got power leaks going on. And that's a distinct feeling that you as a leader can stop and resonate. You're not deliberate if you're running around and going, don't have boundaries and running to everybody's wants and needs. And people can say, well, wait a minute, I have responsibilities and this meeting and that meeting. But we have to then back it up and find out why you ended there in the first place. Set new habits, new behaviors, setting boundaries, maybe using your leadership voice that, hey, that isn't the right way we go about this. That's wasting our time. Here's better use of our value and time. Follow what I'm saying with that? So that deliberateness. And when you feel a sense of deliberateness, do you feel crazy, out of control, where your energy and power is leaking everywhere? No, you feel calm. World leaders, they're deliberate. They have to make decisions. You're doing it methodically. You have the foresight to be able to do that. You're able to think through, make the best decision, guide the best way. If you're not doing that, you got power leaks.
It's so true, because I think so many of us allow ourselves to run in frantic energy. And years ago, I made this decision to myself that I don't do frantic anymore. I don't do frantic. And so whenever I start to feel myself get frantic, because frantic is so unproductive, it's busy, but it's not productive. It's going from one thing to the next and working hard and hustling. But at the end of the day, feeling like I didn't accomplish anything of substance and there's no real win to celebrate. And, I've never heard of it talked about in this way before, that you have distinct power links, and I love that, because then you can trace them back and you can see what's happening. But I'm telling you, when I start to feel frantic, the first thing I do is stop everything. And it never feels like you can. It feels like, no, there's so much to do. There's too much to do. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I will not proceed forward until I can proceed forward with deliberation and without feeling frantic, because it doesn't serve me well. When we're in that frantic space, it's like we're doing a lot of things, but nothing is getting 100% of our genius. It's all, so you can do more. If you spend 2 hours in 100% of your zone of genius, you'll accomplish more than you would in 10 hours being at 20% of your capacity.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. So when I work with my leaders and, they eventually become a power zone leader, that's exactly what happens. You're able to get more done than a shorter period of time for a variety of reasons, whether it be utilizing your team better, saying yes to the right things. This is very passionate to me, because As I mentioned, those dentists feeling frustrated, my clients sometimes like, I've lost out on my dreams. I'm frustrated. This is not what I expected. And that loss of that gift, that superpower that they have, man, come on, let's bring it back. That's one of my biggest joys and gifts I get to do. And, you know, when I talk about leadership from the power zone, one of the things I say is that you can turn leadership into your greatest profit center. And what I mean by that is, yes, economically, we can talk about that in a minute, but also in your life joyfully. That business should be a vehicle. That career, if you're an executive role in a corporate environment, should be a vehicle for your life. And too often we just get to where we're on that track and it's just taking us. And those are all decision points along the way that you let go of your power. You're not working from your power zone. You have everything leaking out. And like you said, it gives and takes. But imagine if you could do that in a more readily available and know exactly, oh, shoot, I forgot to do that. And you quickly plug it. Oh, shoot, I forgot to do that. And you start to create those disciplines, those behavior. Now you're in the driver's seat. That becomes a vehicle for you. And you know what? You're going to have to change in order to do that. And people don't like change, but on the other side of it is all the things that you're stressing and you wish you had. I mean, if you get honest with yourself, right? If you get honest with yourself, that's what you're missing. So you either can struggle and blame it on everything else, pretend like it's all okay, get in the tolerance factor, I get all these fancy words, right, Amy, we know about, or you can actually take responsibility and turn that power that you have as being a leader and turn that career, turn that business into being a vehicle. And you know what happens on the other side of it? Now, it depends on the position of where they're at with their business, but very often, if not all the time, my clients, once they get those initial core systems in place and everything's flowing and they're elevating, they're learning how to let go. They're learning not to micromanage. They're learning how to trust their team and do less, but do better, do greater, do more depth, more what's purposeful, where they're more true value. They have extra time. Imagine that. You have extra time to choose what to do with it. And then they get to decide what their more significant why is. And a lot of times they go off and they create something even more powerful. Maybe something that's a nonprofit, maybe something to give the community. Maybe it has nothing to do with money and their revenue, but their gifts and service. And that gives me goosebumps because that's what it should allow you to do. It should allow you to do that if you choose to, or bring that into your business and create a legacy with your business, really achieving more of your significant why. But you can't do that if you don't learn how to lead from your power zone.
I love it. So much powerful information. We are out of time.
Oh, shoot.
But remind us the name of the book and tell us, if it's on Amazon or Audible or where we go to get the book and how to connect with you.
Okay, sounds great. So my book is Leaving Your Comfort Zone, How to Lead Your Life in the Power Zone. I had it on Amazon a while ago, but I've now put it off on my website so I could do some customizing. Teams buy it and companies, so it's much easier that way. So simply go to powerzonecoach.com and you'll see a tab for a book. And one thing I would like to invite the viewers today, those who participated, is to a free assessment. Amy, I love that you got into talking about power leaks. So I have a brand new assessment called plugyourpowerleaks.com. So I'm going to say that again. Go to plugyourpowerleaks.com, no cost, and you'll get a chance to assess what level you are at in living and performing in your power zone. Find out what your greatest power leaks are and some ways, if you choose to get on a review call with me, to actually learn how to plug those. And so give you a chance to kind of behind closed doors where maybe you don't want anybody to know where you stand, to test yourself and see how well you're actually living and leading from your power zone. So that is, plug your power leaks with an S.com.
Sign me up. I'm doing it.
Okay,
I'm telling you, if you can find one power leak for me, it is totally worth the time to do it because, even if you feel like you're in a pretty good place, there's always a better place. And, I think when we're working on ourselves, we have to understand that there's always another level to learn about ourselves as a leader. And everything that I learn about me, I can then translate into everything that I do in my company, in my home, with my family, in my life. So I'm going there. So plugyourpowerleaks.com. You can see my assessment. It will come through. And if it looks terrible, call me and be like, got to have an intervention.
Well, you're going to get exactly your Power Zone performance score, and you'll know exactly
Awesome.
what you're leaving on the table, how much power you're leaving on the table.
Awesome. I love it.
Okay. Okay.
So, Rene, thank you so much for being on. And all of you who are watching, thank you for joining us on the CEO Spot. So every Thursday afternoon, this is the place to be to get some really great, juicy information for your business. And go over to our private Facebook group, the CEO Spot on Facebook, for a place to be able to watch all the past recordings and also see what's coming up in the future and ask some questions and engage with other CEOs who are passionate about building their businesses just like you are. So I'm Amy Walker, and thank you so much for joining in. Thanks, Rene. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Amy. Appreciate it.
Okay, take care, everyone. Have a really powerful day.